morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Matthew.
Hello.
How are you this morning?
Oh, pretty good. How are you?
I'm all right. Um, you know, tired. I'm so tired. Um, but good otherwise. So I had forgotten that I had to reopen all my stuff.
Oh yeah, because your computer crashed.
Now, so I'm going about doing that right now. Matt, what'd you do with your Saturday?
I went home. I looked around at a couple spots for stuff. Didn't really find anything, which was fine because I didn't need to spend the money. Um, but then yeah, I went home and I made a pizza, and
Ooh, what kind of za did you
it was just some
put
Heggies.
together? There's nothing wrong with a good Heggies.
No, I was. I had some kind of deep dish thing that I was gonna make, but I'm like, I don't have time for that. I don't want to, eat lunch at fucking 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Ain't nobody got time for that type of
Throw my
thing.
whole day off. So, yeah, I did that, and then watched some of a movie, but fell asleep, and then Danny and I went and ran some errands, and yeah, I don't know. What about you?
I came home and I did another like 700 calories on the peddler.
Nice.
And then while I watched Sweet Home,
How was it?
it's good. It's different. It's spotty coverage, but he's back.
Yo.
So I watched that. It was good. It was interesting. It's definitely if you like, kind of that era of Japanese horror, then you're going to dig it. I mean, that's
Okay.
basically it. It's very much a ghost story. It's got some cool stuff going on. It's not what I would call like the best ghost story. It's not the scariest thing. I think it's enough of that era of movies that, much like the yokai war movies from the 70s that Toho did, it's definitely one that you could show to like 10-year-old kids.
Okay.
Which is cool. And then I was super tired, so I decided to try to take a nap. I failed at that, so I came down and did like another 700 calories worth of peddler business. And then I decided to try to jump on the Mr. Atomic Duck server, and I did, and I streamed for 2 hours. And then by that point, Cassandra came home from Hamilton, and we ate super late because DoorDash and the places we wanted to eat at were not cooperating. One, to the point where we ordered, and then they called us and said, we're not going to fulfill your order because we don't do business with DoorDash anymore. And it was kind of cool. Why are you on the app then? I guess what I would like to know.
Because DoorDash will not listen to you if you tell them take us off your app.
Really?
Yeah, I've got my friend who manages Raising Cane's in Louisiana. Like they're like prominent on the website, and they have no relationship.
It's frustrating.
So people order through the app or whatever, then like the driver has to go in. They're like, "Where's my order?" It's like, "Well, we don't. Your DoorDash? Nope, sorry, you have to order again because we don't do that."
This is they at least called and said, we would deliver, but we don't have any delivery drivers today.
Oh, okay.
Well. So it's like, okay, but the thing is they still have not reimbursed me my money yet. So
yeah, weekends I can get a little hinky, but definitely something to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm. So then we watched 2 episodes of Mando that we were behind on.
Nice.
That was a good time. So we did that. That was our evening. It was perfectly lovely, and then we both, shockingly enough, went to bed at the same time. Which fucking never happens. But I also stayed up to like 11, which is that's just getting into primetime Cassandra where she gets her second wind. And for me, that's like I'm up late. So yeah. Beard, how about you? What'd you do with your evening last night after you left us for walking? It looked like you were going to go on a big adventure with your lovely spouse.
We didn't do much. We got back probably around 3 o'clock.
How
or so.
was it? How was your adventure?
Successful.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean it's interesting to see what what's out there and just like drive around and see. I mean, I've only been to kind of certain parts of Bloomington, so
Can you explain your adventure? Because I'm also curious, like what all it entailed.
So yeah, we're just basically like fact finding. I mean, we both had a house. We're selling the other house, and
you have a house right now.
I do, yeah.
So yeah, don't put that shit in past tense. You have house.
No, we have two houses. We're soon to have only one collectively.
Houses in this economy?
Yeah. You're wild. Hear what's wrong with the tax system.
So yeah, so we're just thinking ahead. I mean, and we don't want to like have to rush into it by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
So over probably like the spring and summer, we're just going to be looking at different parts of the city, north to south, and kind of figuring out kind of everything that's going on. So we're just doing these kind of like days where we go and try to find houses kind of at different price points and then like track them and see what they end up selling for. Like, do they sell above list? Do they sell below list? Like, are we like completely blown away that like people are paying way too much in some of these places? Like there was a couple that we went in, we were like, oh yeah, this is appropriately priced. Then we went in, we were like, no, absolutely not. Yeah, so we're doing that, and then just like stopping by, like driving by community centers and art centers and farmers markets and parks and schools and like restaurants and donut shops. Yeah, baby.
You got it. Donut shops.
Asian markets. Yeah. So yesterday we got a donut after first week, and we're just like going in open houses just so we can see like what the quality of the stock is too.
Look, I do just want to say that we've got Baker's wife in our neighborhood, so.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, are you trying to steal James from the northern part of the cities, you son of a bitch?
No. I think that decision has been made.
Oh, you've decided then to leave.
Well, I don't know that. I think.
I don't know. I mean, we're basically looking from basically like.
This is the first I'm hearing this. Hey, stream, you're seeing how hurt I am right now. Shocked, hurt. I'm going through a gambit of emotions.
We've been looking on the south side, but we've also looked like Fridley's on our list, Columbia Heights is on our list, Robbinsdale's on our list.
What about my hood?
Brooklyn Center?
Yeah.
There isn't a lot of housing stock in Brooklyn Center right now. Hey, buddy, we can afford what we can afford.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a weird spot because it's a pretty good neighborhood, but the housing market has like gone through the roof.
Yeah.
So
that's the problem. I mean, even stuff we were looking at. Oh,
hey, hi, Danny.
Hello. So, I mean, that's the real challenge is like finding enough space.
Yeah, I mean,
and not like
you've tripled your household. Well, even more than tripled.
Yeah, you got another dog too.
Because of another dog, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so, then you've doubled your household size if you count the dogs.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. You went from 3 to 6. 6 living beings now occupying that. And your house I like your house, but it's not a big house.
It's not a big house.
Hey, Shaggy. Hey.
Yeah, we were that was part of why we were like, oh, we're gonna, we got this place that we got because it is not suitable for a large family. Like if you had kids, this place would be fucking miserable. Because it's got one bathroom. And so, we're like, cool, this is perfect for us. We're not gonna have kids. We don't need a ton of space. I collect shit. but Danny doesn't, so we're good.
Yeah, it's so that's that's the kind of crunch is like figuring that out. And like we both have stuff, between sewing and gaming and comics, and we both have video game stuff, and we both have art and things. We just would like we'd like to be able to spread out a bit.
Yeah. I mean, you vastly increase the size of your household, but you then increase the size of your stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I get it. I'm just giving you a bunch of shit.
Well,
I don't want you to move away.
You want to have room for kiddo to do their kiddo stuff too,
and for them to grow their
being.
Yeah.
If here's the closet where you Fortnite or whatever, cool. But if it's here's the room where you craft and game and karate or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
It may end up being. You want to make sure that you've got room to do that.
Beard completely missed my triple dab.
Your what?
Oh, he was spamming the emote.
Sorry. Gotta have my vape. Don't have room for
my name is Sprite Pepsi, and I'm abstinence for life. I'm abstinence till I die.
So it's been okay. But she started feeling kind of cruddy yesterday.
Oh
so
no.
She's been kind of
oh man, you've got
sickness.
the boo.
No,
Danny was at the gym and she's like, "Would you like a coffee?" And I said, "Yes." And I also just polished off this monster, so I don't know how this combo's gonna go.
I just finished my coffee as well.
I will say, one of the nice parts about it is they had a lovely Asian market, food market, and so we picked up some of my favorite Chinese candy, some like ginger chews, some
4 blocks away, son. Sun Foods, dog.
Well, I love Sun Foods, but it's not 4 blocks away for me.
I know, but I'm saying if you get close.
Okay. You got to make the pitch with like a "come up here," not a "what's wrong with you."
Sun Foods is an experience, like for all the senses.
Yeah,
I have not been to Sun Foods.
Because the wide array of various meats, an animal byproduct in that place, the smells are interesting. But I've gotten some really interesting good food from there as far as like things to make. Like it's the first time I grilled cactus. It was from Sun Foods. They got conies there, which I hadn't grilled conies for an eternity. But yeah, they've got camel. They've got like every meat you can imagine. That's like the big one for me. I was like, I've never seen camel anywhere, and I still haven't bought any to try it. But it's really cool. I do enjoy it. Like it's like you're walking around and you're like, first of all, I can't read most of this, but second of all of this looks intriguing. Like my stomach's just growling at the thought of it.
Yeah, so went to Chan's. That was great. They also had Cafe Du Monde, like the sealed can stuff that you can get that's already pre-ground. And so I've been having like a chicory delight this morning. So good.
Well, I'm happy you guys are looking at expanding and finding ways to
well, and you're talking about it
to make a home, to make your home your home.
Yeah. So we still got a lot of work to do in this house, and frankly, I don't want to be selling houses back to back and everything else that's going on, But
better to take the time if you can on that.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be fun. I don't mean to be crash, but I was really excited. I thought Colin was popping on when that fourth window popped up, and I was like, no.
I don't know what Colin's up to today. I always send him the invite, but
it's also Easter. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
so needless to say, we're not going out to the Mama Casa today.
Because
we want to make sure nobody gets sick.
Yeah, that's wise.
Oh, that's the same boat we're in. I mean, I'm very happy we're not going.
I was gonna say, I kind of wish I was sick, but
I'm very, very happy we're not going.
That funny feeling.
Yeah.
Shaggy, are you doing anything for the holiday, or is it not your jam? Not knowing anything about whether Easter is your thing. I mean, I don't believe in the Easter bunny or man or whatever, but
Animorphs Jesus.
yeah. But family's doing stuff, so you go and you do that. I can't remember what they were making.
Tolerate
Ham, I think.
Yeah.
Holiday shit. But well, that's not too bad. At least it's only 10 minutes, Shaggy. If you get along with your sister, there you go.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to work on this, and then at the end, if we have some time, I've got some. I just saw your favorite best flick from each director. That's interesting, Beard.
Yeah, I saw that it was like popping around on Twitter this morning when I was catching up on Star Wars Celebration stuff, and I was like, oh, that's actually like,
oh man,
I have a really hard time with some of those. Oh, I forgot to take 2001 off Kubrick, but
so Tarantino would be Reservoir Dogs. Scorsese would be
tough, right?
Goodfellas. Spielberg would be Indiana. It would be the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Kubrick would be Dr. Strangelove. Hitchcock would be Vertigo.
Hey, Spike.
Nolan would be Batman Begins. David Fincher, I would have to go with Seven, and James Cameron is Terminator 2.
Oh. You blew through those. I'm like having a super hard time.
Super Spike, good to see you. I didn't say it in the Discord because I wanted to say it in person. I'm sorry to hear about your.
Oh, I didn't know.
Your pet.
Oh, Spike.
Love from us.
Yeah.
Losing an animal friend is never.
Spike, not Titanic. Spielberg, for me, it's really tough because you have things like Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List, which I think are like extraordinary. It's hard to like not go for Raiders, which is so fun to me.
Raiders to me is out of all of Spielberg's movies. If we're not going off the best movie, if we're going off of a movie that
like favorite or whatever,
it's gonna be Raiders because I can go back to that movie. Out of all three of those movies, Raiders is the one I can go back to every single time and feel almost the same way I felt the first time I saw it.
See, of Spielberg's movies, the one that I have probably seen the most times is Duel. So that might,
and Duel is great, and it's people forget about it.
Well,
it's really good.
I feel like there's so many that like don't get captured from that because he has so many like other big ones like Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park, but I never think of it as Spielberg. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Poltergeist he produced, but a lot of people are like, yeah, that was one of those things where Tobe Hooper directed it, but Spielberg sat on his shoulder the whole time. I mean, I get the feeling with like Gremlins, the same thing. I get the feeling that when he brought in a lot of those horror guys, he's such a good guy that they're all friends, but I also get the feeling from just the way people talk about it that Spielberg did a lot of co-directing.
Yeah.
Jaws. I mean, did either of us mention Jaws? Jaws is so good. It holds up so well.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing about Close Encounters. I love
Yeah.
Close Encounters. But again, it's not one of those I immediately am like Spielberg. You know what I'm saying? Like when you say like what's your favorite or what's the best. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd probably go Jackie Brown.
It's so hard too because that is not a movie that I mean Tarantino just did an adaptation of Elmore Leonard there. He didn't write that movie.
Well, and I mean Kill Bill 1 and 2 would also be it's tough because up until Kill Bill, Jackie Brown was my favorite, and I think it was because it was an adaptation that it kind of reined him in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I love Elmore Leonard, so
yeah. So do I.
And I mean with what's his name? The main guy in that, and Pam Grier.
Yeah, Robert Forster.
Yeah, Robert Forster. It's like
also great actor. I mean, as a character actor, I think Forster is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, for Scorsese, I'd probably do Taxi Driver, at least of the ones I've seen. But Raging Bull is really good too.
I always go back to I feel like
I'd probably use Strangelove for Kubrick. Hitchcock would be a tough one for me because I just haven't seen a lot of his stuff.
Oh man,
Nolan.
I prefer Inception, but I wasn't not that Batman was like not I can appreciate those movies. I don't know. I don't think I was ready for that.
Yeah, I would of the ones that I've seen, I would probably do Inception or Memento.
Oh, I forgot about Memento. I would change mine to Memento. I very, very much like Memento. Nolan's a hard guy for me because those 3 Batman flicks loom so large, and I liked Inception, but Inception was a very okay movie for me, which is silly because it's visually stunning. I like his take on Batman. I think more for liking the way Batman is a part of Gotham City. Not so much his Batman. It's like how Batman is part of Gotham's ecosystem more or less.
Fincher, I need to dive back into because of what I've seen of his stuff. I wouldn't necessarily call them my favorite films.
I'm trying to think what all Fincher's done. I think that's why 7 popped in my head. I know he did like Alien
Gone
3.
Girl, 7, Fight Club, The Game. I think he did the American version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yep. Panic Room. I haven't seen Mank. I hear it's good.
Zodiac's
really good.
Zodiac was great.
Didn't he do Alien 3?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, did
he?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen.
See the cut, the cut they released. It's his cut. I can't remember. It's called the Industrialist cut or something like that.
Okay.
It makes it a way better movie. Also, like going in and seeing all the stuff that he didn't get to do, is kind of crazy.
I don't know, Cameron. It would be tough for me because you've got Terminator and Terminator 2, but Aliens is also real fucking good.
Ridley Scott's not on that list either.
Avatar.
No. I saw Avatar.
The second one?
No, fuck that.
I'm just
I saw the first one and I'm like, I'm good.
Not Battle Angel Alita?
Hey, I saw.
Here's the thing. I went and saw Battle Angel Alita.
Yeah.
And Battle Angel is one of my all-time favorite fucking comics.
Yeah.
That manga is incredible. And Yukito Shiro's sense of design and world building is phenomenal. If you want some really awesome cyberpunk dystopian manga, let me know. I will hook you up. I got it all. I love that. I love that stuff. And his character and mechanical design is just, The movie did not do it justice. I credit for him for trying.
Yeah.
But yeah, didn't quite get there.
Where do you fall on the anime of Battle Angel Alita?
It's an OAV, so like
Mhm.
what it adapts well. It's well animated, but and that's what got me into the manga, because it was easier for me to get to rent Battle Angel from Premiere Video or whatever than it was to buy manga in St. Cloud in the mid 90s. But you just get a real narrow slice,
Yeah.
But you do get to see, moving animated fucking rocket sledgehammer. So
Mm-hmm.
man, that see, so yeah, one of your some D&D character needs to have a rocket hammer. It would be more impractical because you probably have to light it by hand. But
No, I mean you could use an artificer. You could build an artificer
yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically magical Tony Stark at that point.
But yeah, man, the rocket sledge, man, love that. And yes, I need to revisit Django and Inglourious Bastards, Jaggy. I did enjoy both of those at the time, and I haven't seen Hateful Eight since I saw it in the theater either.
I need to see. I've not watched Hateful Eight. Django, I like the Italian originals better.
Well,
And with Inglourious Bastards, I'm like, so you found a cool name from a movie that existed and you stole the name and made something else. I mean,
that's what
okay.
Tarantino does.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That movie led me down that rabbit hole of like, oh, so Tarantino is a giant choose your word, either thief or homage artist. So I'm kind of like,
oh yeah, he's called himself a DJ. Where he'll take different.
That's
things.
a really good term for it.
And I honestly don't mind that, because I appreciate that with music as well, where it's like, oh, what's this sample from?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back and you're like, oh, this song is really great too. Now I think he could maybe do a better job of, and making his influences and references,
his own.
Well, no, not even. I don't. If you want to just take a bunch of stuff and say, I'm going to mash this all together and make it work, because that's a skill in and of itself.
I think sometimes though, when the scenes get to the point where they're almost, just straight up lifted, I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, but that happens a lot. And in that case, it's about crediting.
Yeah.
Which I think he could do a better job with. And I did enjoy Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I did too.
He lost me as soon as he did the Bruce Lee thing.
Well, that was lame. Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, I'm out. You could have used a allegory for this character, but just basically doing what you did. It's like, okay, that's fucking dumb.
Well, and that list doesn't have that list doesn't have the Coens on it either. And
Yeah.
that would be a very hard one for me.
There's a lot of people you could even just do a horror list and
oh yeah,
have people like Joe Dante or John Carpenter or I'm trying to think of Wes Craven, folks in that ilk. Brian De Palma.
Mm-hmm.
I was just watching a thing. Oh, hold on a second.
Oh. His internet.
I was just watching. I found a guy's channel, and he does a lot of stuff about giallo, and I'm not super rote in giallo. And he was talking about how thrillers, sexploitation, noir, and all these things build towards giallo. And giallo has like a 5 to 7 year span where it is like the hottest thing going, and then it starts to die off, and we move into 1978 with Halloween, and slasher boom happens. But he was talking about like proto slashers and how proto slashers kind of bridge the gap between giallo and slasher movies, but giallos aren't slashers and slashers aren't giallo, and here's why. And like some very simple, easy to understand differences, but how those can also weave through that giallo is such a hodgepodge of, like I said, noir, sexploitation, crime, and horror, in peripheral horror. That it's its own kind of thing, and how even some of Fulci, was it? Think of that, not Fulci, Argento's stuff goes from giallo to no longer giallo. Things like Suspiria aren't giallo. The Three Mothers trilogy aren't giallo because giallo has no supernatural elements to it. True giallo is not a supernatural. The killer should not be supernatural. The events around the killer should not be supernatural. And how with a slasher, he was like, not to insult slashers, but slashers are giallo with no nuance. You know who the killer is right off the bat. Whereas giallo, there's the mystery of who is the killer. So it was really interesting to kind of hear that, but it kind of maybe recontextualized some of my thoughts on some of those Italian directors and what they were doing. Same thing with, like, he was talking about how Bava's like Bay of Blood and Holiday with a Hatchet where are they? Are they giallo or are they proto slashers? Because there's a lot going on in those two movies that kind of walks the line, or are they some type of hybrid offshoot? And how, once you start to categorize movies to that point, you can start to see that there's a lot of gray area between genre. Yeah, Clue. I mean, what is Clue? If you really want to stick it, is it a comedy? Is it a horror comedy? Is it what is Clue? Is it a murder mystery?
It's a thriller.
Is it a yeah, because he was also talking about how the thriller is a way to get out of the horror ghetto and avoid calling your movie a giallo, because it's a term that most American audiences don't know and don't care. Yeah. But at the same time, let horror fans know this is horror adjacent, but also you're showing that this is also a movie that the mainstream can both like and it can be award worthy.
Yeah.
Which he says, he was saying this, it's bullshit.
All right. I have my list. I had to think for a while, but this is what I think.
Oh, okay.
This is what I think. Tarantino is Kill Bill for me. And I don't know whether I would choose Volume 1 or Volume 2. Volume 1, I think, is visually more stunning than Volume 2, but I think Volume 2 is a better movie. Scorsese, this is going to be incredibly unpopular, but I have a very soft spot in my heart for the shit show period piece that is Gangs of New York. I watched it. I can't tell you how many times when I worked at the movie theater. And
that's how I am with Goodfellas. I just have seen it so many times.
Spielberg, kind of like you, Ben. The one I can go back to and watch as many times as like my brain will allow me is Jurassic Park. I think that's another one of those things where, like, I saw it when it came out in theaters, and it was one of the first movies that I really saw, and I felt like I was an adult ass person, in in theaters. It was fucking scary, man. And that did things for me. Kubrick is shining for me because I love a story that just ends. It's kind of why I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's why I like a lot of Wong Kar-wai's stuff and a lot of Hong Kong cinema, or a lot of the stuff that Miyazaki did before it was we have to have a catharsis at the end. It was just here's a slice of life and then we're done. And you don't have to have a finish. And I don't know. It just kind of ends, and I enjoy that.
Did you watch Dr. Sleep?
I haven't yet. No, with the Ewan McGregor one.
Yeah, I think that you would really enjoy that, especially because you like Kubrick's The Shining. I have a weird relationship with that movie. I loved it until I read the book, and then I was like, okay, maybe I don't love this as much as I thought I did. And but at the same time, it's really it's still a great movie, But then, and it's like so much bizarre things going on to like try to figure out what's happening. But then you read Doctor Sleep and see the movie, and you're like, oh shit, this connects those two in a way that makes it, very, very interesting. Yeah. And Danny Torrance, all grown up, is an amazing character. And then having Ewan McGregor do that in a film is just, it's
awesome.
Fantastic. It's a very, for fans that love that original story, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story. It's both triumphant and sad at the same time. And I think the True Knot are one of King's scarier adversaries.
Yeah.
So yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. I mean, I would normally say 2001 just because I love it visually. It's just so like sumptuous and so spare. It just makes me feel it's one of those movies that's just like, oh yeah, well, this is what space is actually like, like, it's not all the sci-fi stuff. It's like,
speaking of which, here, did you do this? Because mine just came.
I did. Yes, mine came too. I have twinsies.
Yeah, really cool stuff,
dude. It's so good. I would love to do I would like to build out some of the Star Wars stuff with some of this because it's good. It is I think it's as good as that first one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. For sure. They don't make bad stuff. I really impressed with, and they do. If you're on their newsletter, you get a monthly free random chart.
Oh, cool.
I
don't know. I felt like I was. Maybe I'm just I don't know. I feel like I have so much stuff coming in. I need to filter better, but
it is tough. Yeah, there's okay, I'm interested in this, email newsletter, 50% of the time, and then the rest of the time I do not care. But I don't want to,
It's kind of the same thing. I find myself going back and reading Ben Robbins's in 2 or 3 at a time, just because I'll miss when they come through. But I already said Nolan is Inception. Fincher is Zodiac for me. I love Zodiac. Zodiac's just such a good slow burn, and it's so character to character heavy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a dialogue fiend. I'm happy just watching a movie where people are talking to each other. Hitchcock for me is Rear Window. I love Rear Window.
I have a hard time telling anyone they're wrong on Hitchcock stuff.
Yeah.
I just love Vertigo. I think it's such a wild movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's that I just haven't gone in and watched enough of this stuff. It's one of those, it's like, yep, I know this is good. I know I'm going to like it. I just need to make the time.
Yeah. North by Northwest is kind of it's very hard to pick
The Birds
over that, but I love,
The Birds is terrifying. It really is.
I don't like The Birds. I would never pick The Birds because I don't want to watch it again.
Especially that ending. That ending is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, hard pass.
Yeah, I think it's a scary movie. Like Jaws is a scary movie because it's just they're just animals.
Yeah,
they exist, and you find yourself in a situation if birds just decided they didn't want us around.
Yeah,
that you are vastly outnumbered.
Yeah, which is very terrifying to me. I think
if you want a version of the birds that will make you not afraid of them at all, watch
Birdemic.
That's beautiful. I think I might also go off the beaten path with James Cameron in that I love The Abyss. I think that's one of Ed Harris's best movies, and I enjoy Ed Harris as an actor. So
yeah, that's a really bold call.
So I'll be honest. I never saw Terminator or Terminator 2 in theaters.
I don't think anybody saw Terminator in the theater.
Yeah. But I've maybe watched those once or twice in my life. I've probably seen Titanic more than I've seen those.
Oh, you got to get your life right.
Yeah. He made
But
poor
I've seen it.
decisions.
But I've seen The Abyss a bunch of times, you know, and
Well, yeah,
so I
that's-
think it's
No,
just like,
I'm just saying with Ed Harris. Ed Harris has done some wild, good flicks.
Yeah.
The Right Stuff.
Yeah.
History of Violence.
The Rock.
Night Riders. Fucking Night Riders.
No, I mean,
Also, I just
awesome
read this.
stuff.
I just read this thing today that Liam Neeson got all lovey-dovey with Helen Mirren on the set of Excalibur, and I forgot that they were kind of that Morgan Le Fay was using him in that flick and how like he was a sloppy drunk. That's one of my favorite all-time movies. Period.
Yeah.
Borman's Excalibur is.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that
good.
speech that Arthur gives Guinevere when he comes for Excalibur before he goes to do the ride to fight Mordred is, every time I hear it, it makes my eyes get weepy and my heart just breaks. It's so good. That movie's got Patrick Stewart, Liam Neeson, Helen Mirren. There's so many good actors and actresses in it. It's just phenomenal. It might be the best thing Borman has done.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also Zardoz though. And
yeah, no, I mean,
Zardoz.
Ed Harris has so many good, like, he was terrifying in A History of Violence.
Yeah. Woo.
He was amazing in Glengarry Glen Ross, which is a favorite of mine for a very long time.
I mean, Beard, this stream is for closers.
I know. Always be closing. He was also really good. I don't think people take it seriously enough because it's still kind of like Jim Carrey, but Truman Show, he was amazing in Truman Show.
Truman Show's a great movie.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, I love The Abyss.
I haven't watched that movie in a while, and it came out in that time where there was a glut of undersea movies like Leviathan and Deep Star 6 and all those movies came out like the same time.
Yeah. There's also James Cameron released a special edition director's cut that's like almost a half an hour longer. And that was a fucking long ass movie to begin with at the time. It was over 2 hours. But yeah. Anyway.
That's your last director?
Yeah, I think so. Kill Bill, Gangs, Jurassic Park, Shining, Rear Window, Inception, Zodiac, Abyss.
Yep.
Well, so that's my list.
I mean, Sam Raimi would be another one. That'd be. I mean, his work kind of jumps genre. The Coen Brothers.
Oh yeah, Coen Brothers. I think Matt's right that would be one of the hardest ones for me.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically like made them like specifically say at Cannes that they're not going to give multiple awards. Like it was always kind of unspoken that they were only going to give like one per thing. But then when Turturro won actor, and like they won for Best Picture at the same time, and people were like, "Hey, wait, what?" Was Barton Fink, right? Barton Fink was the one that won too. Yep. Yeah. But yeah, so good. Yeah, it's hard to parse out like the things that are more like serious versus the things that are a bit more comedic with them versus the things that are a bit more commercial.
Well, I've got to revisit a lot of their stuff because I think every movie of theirs that I have seen, I have enjoyed more the second time.
Yeah,
that's a really good point. They're like that, you know. It's like there's that weird, like I get a surface level view of this, and then I dig deeper. I mean, what about Kurosawa?
Oh, that's very difficult.
It's great. I mean, you start like thinking about other directors beyond those directors. You start to think like, okay, what you know, what else? I mean, you could even say George Lucas to a degree. What would be what? THX is a very interesting flick.
Oh yeah, no, I like THX. But like he doesn't have like that many. I mean, he doesn't have that many movies either.
I mean, neither
Yeah.
is James Cameron. James Cameron's only directed 10 movies.
That's
Yeah,
true. That's
and
true.
he did American Graffiti, and then you
Yeah.
start getting into the War of Stars.
Yeah.
What about Carpenter? Where would you guys fall on Carpenter? I'm always interested to.
I mean, for me, it would probably be either Escape from New York or fuck though. The Thing is so goddamn good.
Thing's my favorite all-time movie, but that may not be my favorite Carpenter movie. That's the thing. It's so funny.
Little China and Escape from New York are like those, like just it's a warm bath.
In the Mouth of Madness, Prince
John
of Darkness,
Carpenter's Vampires. I actually
fucking we
that's
didn't
a
even
guilty
mention
pleasure for me.
Halloween, The
They
Fog.
Live.
They Live. Oh God, yeah, They Live is fucking great.
Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, Assault on Precinct 13 is a strange one because I really enjoy it, but I do feel like the remake was fucking great.
Yeah.
It's one of those remakes where I'm like, ooh, this might have gotten it even more right than the original, just because of budget and acting.
Well, I think the other thing is like that's a remake essentially.
Yeah, it's a straight up remake. It's a straight up
of John Wayne, Rio Bravo.
Yeah, it's a Western. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, and Carpenter said, Halloween is a Western.
Yeah,
the villain is coming. The villain is coming. The villain is here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of his stuff. I mean, he's as much as the guy who directed it, and Howard Hawks produced The Thing from Another World. How much he hated Carpenter's version of The Thing, but the thing is, he made that movie because Hawks made The Thing from Another World, and he liked Campbell's Who Goes There.
Can I ruin the stream with something Star Wars again?
We've talked more about movies than we've talked anything else, so go ahead.
It's true.
I picked this up,
Oh.
and it's super interesting. So it's a deck builder, and you have to play either play Empire's deck or you play the Rebels deck, and you play against each other. And it takes a couple things from other deck builders and other games. They're super interesting, and Sarah and I think are going to try to play it later today. But the middle row that you like recruit from, you can only recruit your cards. So Rebels can only recruit Rebels cards. Empire can only recruit Empire's cards. And you can attack the cards. Like you can eliminate cards before people can recruit them to like change their strategy. And then it's kind of like Star Realms where you have a home base and then you can like upgrade your base, and the basic bases don't do anything, but like as you move to a different Rebel base or a different like Empire base, they like will give you bonuses you can kind of build around. And then there's also a like a force meter, almost like in that game, Ben, that I love, and then we held hands, where it's like emotions that go kind of either way. So it's a force meter, and it goes towards the dark side or the light side, and depending on that, cards have like different bonuses, or you can like only recruit or activate certain abilities when like the force is with you. And I was like, this sounds real good, and I don't need more deck builders because I love deck builders just because they're self-contained. But the rumor is this is going to be kind of a deck builder that they build kind of subsequent sets that you could eventually like have kind of other light or dark side decks that you would play against each other. So anyway, I'll let you know how it goes. It's all like original trilogy era stuff too. So the other rumor is that they'll do a prequel trilogy and they'll do a sequel trilogy, and then they've been talking about like what else that they might do in between for some of these other properties. So John Hughes, oh man,
Yeah, another good one.
Yeah, I don't know.
What is it? Savage Steve. Goddamn, what's his last name? Holland. Isn't it Steve Holland? Savage Steve Holland.
Oh, I don't know.
Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer. He did all those flicks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a ton to draw from there, but those movies hold a special place in my heart.
Yeah. John Hughes is tough because, like, man, I don't know. You know, like, just Breakfast Club, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller, All the Lampoons Vacations, Home Alone, 16 Candles, Uncle Buck, Pretty in Pink, Mr. Mom, which has a soft spot.
I love Mr. Mom. Yeah. Also, Terry Garr is.
Yeah, Michael Keaton, Christopher Lloyd, Ann Gillian.
Christopher Lloyd, who was in the last episode of The Mandalorian, and Sandra was like, why is Dr. Brown such a prick?
Weird Science.
Yeah.
She's Having a Baby was awesome. But, yeah, that's tough. And again, John Hughes, 12. How many? I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway. It's crazy just like thinking about how many he did as well that like we don't really think about, you know, like he did a lot of those Disney ones from the 90s, like Flubber with Robin Williams.
I mean, another thing we didn't Spielberg do Goonies, or did he produce that?
He produced that. That was Richard Donner.
That's right. Donner's another one. Donner's done a crazy amount of stuff.
Yeah.
A crazy amount of interesting stuff. I mean, Superman.
Yeah.
He was set to do Superman 2. I think he got like 3/4 of the way through that movie before he got his ass fired.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize he was that far in.
Oh, yeah, it was mostly done.
Richard Donner, did he do Predator?
No, that was
McTiernan. John McTiernan.
Yeah.
There's another guy. He did a bunch of movies in that span of time that are, you know, they're really good. They're good in their genre. All right.
Richard Hill.
Deborah Hill. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, Deborah Hill has been involved. I mean, I think with her, because she did so much producing and co-writing.
I said Walter, but
Walter Hill, but Deborah Hill as well. Though you could just go see all the movies that her fingerprints are on.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
I did love not necessarily a spoiler, and I don't know if either of you are planning to see it, but there's probably a good quarter of John Wick 4 that is just like it homages Warriors pretty heavily, which I appreciated.
I have not seen any of the John Wick films, which I know is kind of.
I haven't either.
They're you know meat and potatoes action, really,
which I do enjoy. I find those movies though they're more fun to watch with people.
Yeah.
And I mean I think they're wrapping up the main story at the right point because it was starting to get a little like long in the tooth, but there was some great stuff in the new one. I enjoyed it. So
Donner's. I'm like looking at Donner's list now, and I'm like, it's insane that he made the breadth of movies that he made. Like Lady Hawk, Inside Moves.
I know.
Maverick.
I love Lady Hawk.
Yeah, The Omen.
Yeah,
Scrooged, The Goonies, Lethal Weapon, and Superman. Like, I don't put 90% of those in the same like. This person would be good to like. Oh. If you've seen Superman, you'll love Lethal Weapon. Oh, if you've seen Lethal Weapon, you'll love Lady Hawk. Oh, if you've seen Lady Hawk, you'll love Scrooge. It's just like, wait, what? That's crazy. That's just crazy to me. Huh. Yeah, I'm an Uncle Buck guy as well.
I love Uncle Buck.
John Candy was just so fucking phenomenal. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, though, that probably takes the cake for me. That movie is so goddamn genius.
There's a movie that I have on my list that I need to actually watch and rent that I recently read about, and it's called The Silent Partner. And it's very early John Candy, and he's just in the supporting role, non-comedic. But it's like
1978.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Elliot Gould, Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And the basic plot is this guy, Christopher Plummer's character is a bank robber, and he robs this bank that Elliot Gould works at, and Elliot Gould figures it out that he's going to rob the bank. So ahead of time, he stashes a bunch of money because he can blame the criminal.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of goes from there because Christopher Plummer gets pissed that this other guy like stole from him and blamed it on him.
This sounds a lot like Die Hard. I love it. Oh, and it's a Canadian movie, so that explains like a lot of who's in it. Yeah, that's
fun. Exploitation. Did anyone say that, or is this me?
Exploitation.
This is super interesting. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah, so I need to find the time to watch that. And then the other thing too is if you're looking for something very, very good, The Last of Sheila.
Oh, not familiar.
It's got James Coburn. The cast is phenomenal.
Oh, and wow. Raquel Welch, James Mason.
Yeah.
John Hackett.
Stephen Sondheim. Stephen Sondheim and Roddy McDowell wrote it.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And it's like a murder mystery or whatever. And James Coburn's character is this rich guy who's like, hey, everybody, I'm going to have this fun game. And then somebody actually gets killed.
I do love James Coburn as well.
Oh, and he's such a great scumbag. And it was one of the things that you can, if you enjoyed Glass Onion.
I did. I enjoyed.
Did you enjoy the In Like Flint movies?
I only saw the first one, but yeah,
that one's good too.
It was listed. It was one of the movies that he listed as heavy inspiration for Glass Onion.
I would recommend. Beard, have you seen those flicks?
Mm-mm.
They're really good. They're very much they're in between Bond and Austin Powers, basically.
Yeah. Nice. I definitely need to revisit them because I saw the first one back in probably the 90s.
Yeah, they got a lot of camp to them, but they're also. Have you seen the Diabolique movies at all?
I've only seen Danger Diabolique
because of Mystery Science Theater. With who's the guy? Who's the star of that flick? Gosh darn it!
He's been in a million things.
Yeah, what is his name? Oh man, I keep wanting to say John Saxon. It's not John Saxon. It's oh crap.
What movie? Which movies are we talking about?
I'm looking it up.
Diabolique. He was also in Space Mutiny. John Philip Law.
John Philip Law. Yeah.
He's so unhinged in Danger Diabolique. Isn't that like a Mario Bava movie as well?
Yes.
That's another one that I've seen it without the Mystery Science Theater. It's so fun. It is like a 60s superhero movie if the superhero is actually the villain.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's but it's kind of that to me. In like Flint kind of falls in that category of kind of over the top and yet still stays in a spy fun wheelhouse. So yeah, I think I'm done with this part of the prep.
Oh, nice.
So we can go to the other one I was going to work on prepping so I can give the players 2 options.
Ew.
Yeah, sorry if
I'll be right back.
People thought we were going to talk more about D&D because we have not.
Turns out. No.
Yeah. Looks like. I
will say that's probably mostly on me. Yeah, I was so psyched about the roll and plays coming. I saw that they were starting fulfillment, but I figured it'd be a while. So I was so surprised when they showed up yesterday.
They're very, very, very nice.
Yeah, they're really beautiful. Yeah. For people, if you haven't had a chance to check, Roll and Play Press, rollandplaypress.com. They did a fantasy one, which is probably somewhere around here.
A couple years ago?
Yeah, it must have been. I mean, I think it was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
But and then I'm pretty sure that this one kickstarted a while ago. But I know it took them a little while to get to press. And they did that one-shot wonders in between, which I think I also the fantasy. Oh no, they did two. They did the fantasy character kit, and then they did that Game Master fantasy.
Yeah, I have both of those.
Yeah, me too. They're great. And then they did that Playable Races PDF bundle, which is also phenomenal. Yeah, really just super fun stuff. Yeah, just amazing. But very, very fun. They also did a Game Masters Christmas bundle that was really fun. That had some Christmas themed races and a couple little adventures and some other things. I also I must have missed this, but they put out players notebooks that look kind of like color, you can color in. I think that they're just pretty normal things besides they have the kind of character profile sheets and the proficiencies that you can have in there. And then it just has a bunch of blank sheets. But yeah, there's a Game Master's notebook that includes 3 pages of character reference boxes, 6 pages of line paper take notes, 8 pages of small hex paper for global maps, 8 pages of large hex for small scale maps, 12 pages of squared paper for dungeon planning. And then the player's notebook has a complete 5e character sheet, ammo counters, currency conversion tables, quest to-do lists, spell slot manager, 4 custom list page, 6 pages of map grid, 72 of line paper for notes. And they're the same size as the other ones as well. So very cool. Whoa.
Yeah, I recommend them highly. I think they're extremely good tools.
Mm-hmm.
There he pressed. So kind of the gist is the first adventure, I think we worked on a little bit last time, I think, is called In the Pincers, I believe. Something like that. And this is kind of the first option. I don't know why I have it B option then. And it's that the PCs, and a lot of these are tying now back to previous sessions, is that there's still some of these mutated drakes around. PCs are basically told hey, you guys didn't finish a job, so now you have to go out and finish the job. And they track these drakes back to a new cave, and there some of the shard has basically been found, and these drakes are evolving from this shard. The longer they set near it, the more they evolve. So it's kind of got the idea of do you just kill these things because they're hunters, or do you let them evolve into, and that's one thing I want to get across is the one in charge is sentient at this point. He's fully able to communicate. He's bipedal by the point that they get to him, who's basically using these other drakes and evolving them into his own tribe. The problem is a group of giant ants have been forced out of where they were due to old Gem Crust, hunting and rutting in that area. So they've been drawn to this massive shard because it just kind of draws things to it. And they've made multiple attacks on it, but have been pressed back, and now they're getting ready to make their final push. So when the PCs find that, there'll be a little bit of combat with some drakes who are just trying to protect the area. they'll run into a hatchling chamber and see that these things are not what they thought they were going to be. And then they'll eventually run into the main Drake, who's just like basking in this energy. They'll have themselves an option of attacking or, of course, conversation. But at either point, whether the conversation becomes fruitful or if it devolves, that's when the ants come in, and then it's just full-blown throwdown from there. But what they'll learn through this is that where these drakes die or spill a lot of their own blood becomes blood rock, which in 4th edition was stone that gave you, if you fought on it or near it, gave you bonuses to attack and damage. So they'll figure out, oh, hey, this is mineable, as well as that the chaos shard stuff is mineable. I want to get though across that when the ants come in, if you just stand and try to fight this giant swarm of ants, you will die. There's just too many. So either you need to have some way to do a lot of AoE damage, or you need to retreat and figure out a different way if you're interested, or just collapse the cave. But so that's kind of where that is. It's a basic adventure with, a get there big fight with a moral quandary in it. But at the same time, they have the opportunity of meeting this Heskin Flamebrow on the way, because he's important, as he's the kind of driving force behind the other adventure. And this guy is a dragonborn treasure hunter. And he has gotten information about another place where this former Genasi sorcerer named Vorin Earthmane, who's parts of his keep is what the very first Chaos Guard adventure takes place going to. But he's gotten information that maybe there was another area where this Vorin had things. So he has also found the remains of the Fireclaw tribe, who were decided to farm the land for the humans after the Brothers Grey incident, which I think a lot of the players in this particular game were in that Brothers Grey game. So that'd be interesting, because he's pressed these kobolds into service. He's basically like your guides and porters. Oh, you don't want to do it? That's fine. I can just kill you then, because I need guides and porters. So he comes to the Finders Guild and basically is looking for more hands. So this is the one I haven't done a lot of work on yet, since the other one's done. But here it's kind of like in the original write-up, I think, this is called The Lost Library. It's like the kobolds lie and tell him that they have a ritual to find gold, and he's like, perfect. I don't want to do that, because we set up Nibik and the tribe as being very, very honest and kind of forthright. So I just want to have him kind of press them into service. It's that he knows that there's a brown dragon lair. This brown dragon is supposedly taken over this Vorin Earthmane area in farther in the mountains, which would be the farthest that any of the PC groups have gone so far. So I think this is basically just a raid a dragon's lair adventure, which shouldn't be too. Both these adventures are pretty straightforward. That's basically it. It's got. I think there might be another tribe. Of Dragonborn, which will be interesting, because the PCs have a pretty good relationship with the Fireclaw now. And then I want to use this Thorgrim Spinehammer guy. It says in here he's got a small mine near the Chaos Scar. I might try to say he's starting one. They can run across him as well. He would be a good NPC that then they could come back to at a later point. Also been thinking about running a mini series called Take Me Home, Old Fay Roads,
That's amazing.
which would be CAG is his name, not Nivik. Nivik's dead, that's right. CAG is the which would be kind of a can't remember what the name of the book is now, but there's a D&D Kickstarter I did where it was kind of built for like crafting and stuff, like more like almost like a Japanese like fantasy RPG.
Yeah.
Beard, you know what I'm talking about? I think I
can't remember.
is it Herbarium?
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
So I have all these like more low key like Herbarium and some of these other they're D&D games, but they're more like crafting and like living in a community and less like, hey, we got to go slaughter these orcs on the hill type of thing.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun to play like almost like we were playing a little bit with Beyond the Wall, where you know it's got kind of some of that, and then use like the session 0 to like make the town and the area, and make it more of like a. I'm almost thinking like the PCs would be more like younglings who are doing their rite of passage, kind of like we did a little bit with the Jarmento.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that book is called, but like I got this Potions and Herbalist book. Some of these other like very interesting, like more, again, like more not. I want to say passive almost, but less grim. Like I generally play like weird fantasy. Beard, you're more high fantasy, but I've definitely got like some dark fantasy in mine. I think it would be fun to play one where it's pretty much like, you know, Miyazaki fantasy.
Oh, I'd love that. That'd be super fun.
I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to look it up. But like, I want to be able to use this boy. Where are you, boy? My boy. I want to use this boy in games.
It's a good boy.
It's a dinosaur cat. I want this in the game. Like I want it to be like a significant part of like that. There's an outbreak of dinosaur cat. That would be like one of the things they'd have to track them down. I think that could be really fun and kind of goofy, and but I want to keep it away from veering into, you know, Tasty Boy level of like goofy, because that's partially my fault, and I want to not allow that to happen. I don't even know how that happened in that game, but I do take some of the blame for it.
I mean,
but that's like something I was thinking about, like maybe.
What were you saying? Sorry.
No, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, I mean, well, I think that's what happens. Please when continue. All we do is DM, you know, like when we play, we want to go ham, and maybe not Jahan Hamand, but you know what I'm saying? Like I think it's a byproduct of us not having creative outlets for those pieces and only running what we're like kind of committed to running. I think it's real challenging to not to take a backseat once you are actually in a situation where you can, you know, let all of that kind of be produced in a different fashion, you know? Because when you're creating it and you're the one who has to kind of redirect the energy, as it were, you know, I think DMing is a lot of, you know, martial art. It's a lot of Aikido. Is that where you redirect energy?
Yes.
You know, that I think that when you're when you're playing for the first time, yeah, you're more tenacious D with karate. I'll kick your ass. You don't have to worry about where the energy is getting redirected. You just want to put it out there. So I don't.
But I think the problem too is like I look back at that and I was trying so hard to play something outside of my normal wheelhouse. I mean, I was playing a straight support character.
Yeah.
I was trying very hard not to put myself in the "this is what we're going to do" role.
Yeah.
Because I have a very, very strong tendency to take over, for lack of a better term. And I also have a tendency to play like melee frontline fighters. I have a tendency to play, very classic good guy characters. And that was the second time I'd been afforded the luxury of playing rather than running for some time. And before that was in Zach's D&D playtest for 5th edition.
Yeah.
1 second again.
Watch you.
Where in that game, I did play a frontline fighter. I played like a gladiator fighter, but the thing was he was super lazy and he just wanted to lie around all the time. So he would fight, but he had no interest in leading, and he just wanted to he's constantly like, I want to take a nap. I loved that character. He was like a big, rotund guy who was very dangerous, but he was also like, I escaped bondage, and now all I want to do is just like rest and eat and like live the good life. I really am only doing this because I need money. So like, I'm not doing anything extra.
Yeah.
Basically say, are you paying me for this? No, I'm going to go over to the cart and take a nap. So let me know when money's involved. But Chef was like taking that to like even 10 times that level.
Yeah.
And I do agree. I think sometimes that happens, but I think the problem I look back at that and say is like, I could have walked a better line with that. And I think unfortunately by not walking that line very effectively, I was like sabotaging your game by letting other people go bug nutty. Rather than being a good ally to the DM and being like, come on guys. I did far more of that with the professor, where I was like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
But I also played far more of a, I don't know how to put that, a far more, because he wasn't really a classic D&D character either. I played far more of a, far less of a comedic character.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I'm kind of a dorky professor, but then I also can Jekyll and Hyde out into this monster who is an amoral person-eating machine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I if I was to run something like Old Fay Roads, Take Me Home, I would probably try to set a tone where there's a little bit of that, but not as much.
Not a nonstop a string of funny Joel names.
I mean, and I don't mind that. I think kind of too what I'm thinking about is like something akin to our weekend D&D game that we had for a while.
Yeah.
But me being less of like, I don't know. I kind of felt like that game was tonally pretty good. But I also think it fell a little bit even further into like, especially when we got into the dwarf stuff, it was it got a little politicky and grim, and I kind of want to steer away from that.
Yeah.
But that's an idea I've had floating around in my head for a little bit that I'm like, oh, that might be fun.
Yeah.
Something where it's like, there's festivals and, it's, people aren't starving. It's more like, hey, we're living pretty good. Yeah. We don't have like a distinct enemy like that is
sure.
that we're afraid of. Instead, we have there's interesting places to explore. There's other cultures that aren't necessarily going to be like, you know, or even like the Young Dragons game. There was a lot of fun in that game too, as far as like, the orcs that showed up who were basically refugees.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, you guys can live here.
Yeah.
But I loved the idea too of like, oh, we're exploring down in this cave and we find, goblin vampires.
Yeah.
And that was fucking awesome because it was scary. Because they're goblins, but they only come out at night and they want to suck all your blood. So I mean, like, I think there's some fun areas to be mined there, and as like first level character, because I remember playing in a game before I moved that a friend of mine ran. I think I've talked about this before, where he did it kind of based on very loosely on like Celtic, I mean mythology, but more like fae stuff.
Sure.
And we played like, and I quote, monster hunters, but we were mostly like hillbilly monster hunters.
Yeah.
Like we had a war goat named Cletus. It was a really fun thing because while we did play hillbillies, bad hillbilly voices and all, there was like one of the first things, there was a threat that we had to deal with was a giant catfish. That the fishing pond near our village was having problems. We couldn't fish out of it because there was literally a catfish the size of a rowboat, in the bottom. It was eating everything and, had attacked a couple fishermen. So we had to make like diving equipment out of like stuff to go down and fight this giant catfish. And it was super fun. It was kind of whimsical, but it was also just fun and weird. Like I said, we had a goat that pulled a cart. We had found a giant's head that we always kept in the cart. It was like our advertising.
That's funny.
And it was only like 3 players in that game. So it was like, and we were all related. But we weren't brothers. We were like cousins.
That's funny.
I ran a game a couple times for some friends where there was like 10 players in the game and they were all half brothers.
Oh,
their dad was like Papa Dudley.
Jeez.
So their races were all different. They were all different ages, but they were all related. They were all had the same father.
Me too, Super Strike.
Which was kind of fun. So what I'm thinking about this is I'm thinking about doing it kind of like Chaos Scar.
Yeah, nice.
Whereas Chaos Scar is like exploration, kind of West March's adjacent, I guess. I'm going to close this because we're not working on it, and I want to be able to see your beautiful faces. And this would be one too where I think maybe we would just crowdsource how we build it.
Yeah.
Invite people on and the chat, of course. Hey Mitch, I didn't see you there.
He been and gone.
Dang, I'm slow today.
He's climbing up a mountain.
But like
later, folks, stay frosty.
Nice. But like maybe put it out there where it's offered. Hell, maybe even put it close to the Chaos Scar.
Yeah.
Just maybe on the other side of the scar. But like have it where it's very simple. I would probably run this more Chaos Scar or more West Marches, like where players would have to get a hold of me. But like try to make it a little more whimsical, but also a little more like home based.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now I think we've only had one session where the players did anything in town like of significance.
Yeah.
Generally it's like, let's get going. And I would prefer to run a game where it's a little more like, hey, let's
a little more RP.
Little more Stardew Valley, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what are people's thoughts on this? Chat, of course, your thoughts are just as important as mine.
Yeah, I think like maintenance and management and like meeting folks is always interesting, and I think that it takes a certain kind of player to be engaged in that. But
also crafting, I think it'd be cool, like if it was like they were making, or some of them were artisans.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree. I think one of my favorite adventures I played in was that one with Nick and everybody, and the one that Gene ran, where like I started my own, like we took over a building and kind of made it a church for the church of my paladin. I mean, it was great until it got like totally burned to a crisp, and we were all forced out of the
was
city,
was that first group?
Yeah,
with like Low Town and Red Timber, I think was what it was.
It was Red Timber. Yeah,
that's another one that, like, if you subtract the kind of evil mayor, that game is far more Stardew Valley than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, even with the evil mayor, Yeah,
I guess he would be Jojo Mart to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
he's kind of Tom Nook.
Yeah, like an evil Tom Nook.
Yeah,
it is interesting. Yeah, to like, let's develop this place as much as the characters.
So another thing I had that I wanted to use, which is, I don't know if it's tropey or not, but it's definitely completely lifted from Neil Gaiman, is the idea that there's a wall, on the other side of the wall is the Feywild.
Interesting.
Which is what is, I can't remember that they did a book. I did a movie of that. I think it's Stardust.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a Neil Gaiman story, but like I wanted, like, there's a old, like, crumbled down wall in the middle of the forest, and once you cross over that, you cross into the Feywild. But I don't want it to be like I want it to be like that there is, like, it only happens on like the full moon. You can cross over like the moon wall. Hey Robert, and you can go over there and like trade, and you can have negotiations and relationships as far as like building friendships and allies and maybe even rivals on the other side of this wall. And it's not going to be like, I also have a bad tendency to fall into the trope of elves are pompous pricks all the time, and I kind of like the idea of like getting out of that and doing something where the elves are like welcoming and friendly and kind of more like, I don't even know, because I think elves have become such a trope into that almost xenophobic thing.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to find some type of riff on that, or maybe even not using elves, but using like other fairy races for that, and then like the elves are like overseeing, like almost like the police. They're like the their city hall. But doing something like that, and then like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Super Spike, even doing like that, maybe like one of the characters is a goddamn is a tourist guide to that side. Like, he has a deal with them where he's like, oh, I'll take you in here and you can see all this cool stuff. Just don't touch or eat anything.
Yeah.
I think there's some. I would love to do a game that's kind of exploratory, but at the same time, it's more RP heavy and like some crafting and things like that. Maybe, I don't know. I just something I thought of that I was interested in. I didn't know what their thoughts on it would be. Yeah, don't step off the path. I love that idea of like in the Wizard of Oz, like if you get off the Yellow Brick Road, it's bad. Like that's another thing. I still want to run a miniseries in that Oz book that's a hex crawl, like an urban crawl.
Yeah.
But that's like super political. Like there's a lot of political machinations and secret police and things like that. This would be less that, but I like the idea of like this moon road through Gaiman's wall, we'll just call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Like at night, you can walk that path. And if you walk it, nothing can attack you on that. But should you step off of it, once you leave the moon path, you're on your own. Because then there's animals and things out there that are looking to eat. And maybe like a little bit of like never-ending story vibe to it too. I like the idea of like wargs that talk.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I'm not eating you because I'm evil. I'm eating you because I'm hungry. So I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought. I don't know if it, if it
Yeah.
I think anything that you feel like you're interested in, I think we should try.
Oh, the Rainbow Road you can only walk it when it rains. That's cool. Like it only appears when it rains. Like my idea with the Moonlight Road was it only shows under moonlight. But I like that idea of like that there's another road, the Rainbow Road, and it only is visible when it rains. And maybe it leads to somewhere else. I really like that. I like that, too. I know that some of you watched when we played Dreams in the Witch House. I like the idea of like research being important.
Yeah.
That there's a town library that's by no means complete, but players can add to that. That what they find, the information they find is important. So I don't know. That's just the thought I had, kind of wrap things up. It was something that I had been contemplating.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I do like that idea.
I like the idea of the players, like, I don't have to, I still have to make money. And that's a thing I got to get better at in Chaos Scar. In fact, I was going to probably talk to them soon about, that the guild takes 25% of your earnings. And they take 25% because 25% now pays for all of your equipment, your food, your housing, all of that. So you need to make sure you go back and all the loot you guys have, like all the money, you take a quarter out of it. And now you're caught up. It's like dues, basically.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to do that. But like in this type of game, it would be more like, okay, how am I making money? Do I live with mom and dad? Do I live with siblings? Who do I live with? And if I don't live with them, how do I pay for stuff?
Yeah.
Because remember, I beyond the wall, we lived with family. But like, I love the idea of that witch out in the woods who like lived in a shack and was like, hey, one of the reasons I live out here is then I don't have to pay for anything.
Yeah.
I'm a hobo by choice because I don't want to pay for anything. Now I've got magical animal friends who bring me local fauna and foliage, so I don't have to pay for that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that Shaggy, that's a great way to look. This guy was literally like living in the magical equivalent of a trailer park. And he was great. I like the idea of like the animal companions that some of the folks had. Like Christy had that flying fox named Felix, who for whatever reason Zach gave a horrific German accent to, and he was such a shy boy. And Cassandra was a bear. She was an awakened bear in that game, who lived in a cave and collected hats. She could talk, which scared the shit out of a lot of people, but she also loved to dance, and she loved hats. That was her thing. She just wanted hats. And if you could hook her up with hats, she was all about it. Beard, you played in that game, right? Or no, you played in the Red and Pleasant Land game where we were the sisters.
Yeah. Well, you were the sisters. I was the horny frog. So I was basically Super Thunder Frog in that one.
Yeah. So in the other game, was that a Beyond the Wall game, Beard, you played in? Or was that just we used Red and Pleasant Land? And
no, that was Red and Pleasant Land. You played Beyond the Wall after that, and I was just like, Beyond the Wall is like you start as like teenagers, and I was just kind of like, I just didn't want to, just like wasn't my RP jam. Which I don't know what my RP jam is sometimes, I mean, mostly I think I just need a hook that isn't like revisiting something that's reality based.
So, so I think that was the thing. Like the teenage thing was cool because we were all just starting out.
Sure. Yeah.
So like my character was trying to become a member of like the town watch.
Yeah.
That was the thing. They were from a family where the father had died like the year before due to like I think the plague.
Yeah.
And one of my brothers had passed away due to like being in the watch. So now my character was like, I want to be in the watch. And then my youngest brother passed away, and that was like the weird thing I had was the weirdness was my younger brother's ghost was constantly over my shoulder.
Yeah.
And some people could see him and I couldn't. So it was kind of like that was like the drawback I took, but my brother's ghost would kind of like push me in different directions. And Christie's character was a witch, and her parents were like kind of magic dabblers, but she was like straight up like, I'm a witch. And then Cassandra's character was an awakened bear.
Yeah.
Who like wandered into town one day and was like, hello. And they were like, kill the bear. And she was like, no, let's not kill the bear. How about let the bear live in town?
And give it hats.
Yeah, and it was like, what are those things you guys wear on your heads? And they're like, these are hats. And they're like, I want all of the hats. So did she float? I think it was like one of those things where she did a lot of like poultices and stuff in town, but was like more like learning about getting more. And that was the thing about the whole game. It was like we were learning to become adventurers.
Yeah.
Like one of the first things that happened was the burial mounds like a mile away where like we bury our dead and everything, like the dead woke up and like attacked the town. And that was like a big thing. It was like people were trying to hide in the main houses and protect themselves. And our characters were like, we're going to go out and fight. So, you know, and that was a big deal. And we were squishy. And that I thought it was neat because we had like, one of the things about that game is you make relationships with NPCs you create.
Yeah.
So like my main relationship was with like the head of the watch. Like I was like very looking for the head of the watch's approval. Another relationship I had was with these cheesemakers in town who had supplied my family with food like after my father died, who was like a farmer. And so I had like this trading thing where I would like do stuff for them because I felt like I owed them. I think one of the things about Cassandra's character was like she was friends with the haberdasher because she was like, "Oh, hats," and he was like, "Yeah, what will you give me?" And she was like, "Have you heard of this thing called honey?" He was like, "Yeah, it's like kind of pricey." And she was like, "So, like, if I bring you that, like, we can do business?" And he was like, "Fuck yeah!" So, like, at first, I think she like brought him like active hives, and he was like, "No, you can't do that." So something to that effect. Like we all had these like very interesting, like not fully fleshed out, but like strong relationships with NPCs that I thought was really fun. And we used like, you know, and I would like to use that kind of thing to build like a town for something like this, because it was very much like, if I remember right, it was much like the whole like building the area, you know, in that game, it's like you name one place that you know exists. You name one place that you think exists.
Oh, yeah.
And you name one place that you know doesn't exist. But I think with the NPCs, it was the same thing. It was like, you name a person you have a very good relationship with. You name a person you want to have a good relationship with. And you name someone that you don't have a good relationship with.
Yeah.
And then the group fleshes those out. And I really like that idea a lot. It's kind of like Monster Hearts has that too, where you make your homeroom.
Yeah.
You sit around as a group and you say, Jerry Goldsmith sits in the back row and he's a prick and he's a bully who steals people's lunches.
Yeah.
No, what's another thing about Jerry is like someone else would say, well, I know that Jerry's mom is an alcoholic and his dad cheats on his mom and he has a shitty home life. So they're like, oh, okay, well, maybe Jerry has a reason that he's a prick. And someone else might go, yeah, in Jerry's car, you can always hear him coming because his car has no muffler. So then as someone running the game, you can go, oh, and you hear that noise.
Yeah.
Roaring down the street. You're like, oh, motherfucking Jerry Goldsmith.
That
You know, I like that.
sounds like some Tales from the Loop shit right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and really when you look at it, Monster Hearts and Tales from the Loop have some DNA that crosses over when it comes to stuff like that. Like I can't remember the character's name that Doug had made up for the game, which is named after a guy he went to school with who was kind of a creeper. And so every time he showed up in Monster Hearts, it was always like you just saw half his face because the other half was like around a tree or around a wall, and he was always kind of creeping on people. So whenever they saw him, they were always like, oh shit, something's going to go down because he's constantly creeping on everyone. But I think that's if people have interest in it, maybe I'll throw it out in Chaos Guard as well.
Yeah.
In our chat.
I mean, it could be what comes out of that world building game that I am interested in running too, you know, where we just build the world. We don't actually like play in the world. Like I'm very honestly interested in just not, you know, like if people want to like revisit that, but like I think that the idea would be, you know, that then, you know, for Extra Life or for other ongoings or things like that, kind of, you know, I mean, to me, I think that the best part about the known world was not that you were running a different game every single week and totally burning yourself out, but it was because everything had connections or potential connections. And if you were invited to another group, you saw that world from a totally different perspective, even though it was in the same, even though it was, you know what I'm saying? Like that was magic to me.
Some of that still lives on in Down Outlands. I mean, they've run into characters. They'll be running, spoilers. They're going to run into Bargrit and Roni tomorrow night. They've been in the same place that they've been in later in time. They've seen like Roni's notebook, her journal.
Yeah.
But they're going to actually run into them.
Yeah.
For actual plot reasons.
Yeah.
So, you know, they currently, one of the instructors is he of Minnie, which is a clone of Nate's character. You know, so yeah, I like that that still has connective tissue to those other games. And I'd still like, you know, people to feel like if they want to be able to jump in and play like an ARC. I think you and I talked about one point. I was like, hey, I got this cool idea. Would you be interested in playing a character who's not a character? It's a sentient weapon.
Yeah.
who is basically is controlling a character for a while, and then, you know, you could lose that character at some point, and then the weapon can show back up again later with a different wielder.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's something I think I would want to play in a game at some point.
And
it's like I'm not playing the character, I'm playing the weapon.
Yeah.
Because I think that's
I would love that. If you ever want to tag team a character weapon combo, we should do that for Extra Life and just not tell people.
Yeah, I mean, I think Extra Life, like I finally hooked my Discord and my Patreon up. Because I had to do that to be able to get on Atomic Duck server.
Okay.
So I didn't realize it was going to attach me to every Patreon server which is fine.
Yeah.
But when I jumped on Critical Crafting, they were like, hey, like what brought you here? And I was like, oh, this is what brought me here. And then they were like, the folks on there were like, well, what do you run? What do you play on? So I just gave them the rundown of like who we are.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, holy crap, you guys do Extra Life, you do all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, here's our channel, here's what we do.
Yeah.
And if more than one person was like, I'm subscribing to your channel, I'm following you guys now because you do all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, we try to run a lot of different games and we try to do weird stuff. I talked about, you know, that we're still working on putting together, you know, Hard Times 1987, that we had thrown together, you know, Stairways to Stardom, you know, as something which was just this bizarre, you know, creative endeavor that, you know, we used to do podcast versions of some of our games. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there if you want to listen to or watch weird stuff we do. And there's a ton of Extra Life stuff you can watch. My God, there's hours of Extra Life.
Yeah.
So, I like keeping Chaos Star going as a monthly game. I'm going to run Down Outlands until the season ends, which will be when they wrap up their stuff on Mount Celestia, and then we'll take a break and I'm going to do some other stuff. We've got Star Wars stuff in the hopper, which we need to pick a day and time to get together and figure out all of that, because I wouldn't mind running that as a monthly game.
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
But Take Me Home, Faye Roads is something that I also wouldn't mind doing as a monthly game.
Yeah.
Because it would be very RP heavy. And Down Outlands for me fits that perfect balance of, we have entire sessions where it's just role playing. And then we've had sessions where it's literally just from opening bell is roll initiative till the very end where you didn't even finish all the combat. And then Chaos Scar is kind of like you go on the adventure from the start point. There's very little stuff to do in town. Lately, I've been a little bit more liberal with, you guys want to do anything before you leave? And that's where we got into I want to trade with this person. And that's where the Russell Boyd group has gotten where it is, because they've made relationships in town. Where they're like, oh yeah, I'll do this for you, but you'll give me this, right? You'll identify all this stuff for me for free, right? If I go get you these things. I like that. That's a trade. That to me works in that type of economy. But Take Me Home, Faye Roads would be something more akin to I would like this material because I'm working on leather. I'm making a cool set of leather armor for Terry. Okay. But I don't have any leather. And you might go to, Denius, who's the leather worker, who goes, well, I've got leather. But man, you know what I really like? There's these there's a tiny giant mushroom forest.
Oh, I was going to say, brother, this is taking a very big turn.
Guys,
it's big mushrooms. Happy Easter.
I'm not saying I wasn't going in that direction. He might go, hey, but I don't have time to get there, and also I'm not really into that. But a couple miles away, there's this, big mushroom, it's like giant mushroom, Minecraft style. And that's another thing I'd like to use is the Minecraft monsters that they made. I would love to use because I was watching a thing where Chris Perkins was talking about them making those monsters for that little D&D Beyond supplement thing, and he was like, we fiddled with them a little bit, but Minecraft team had a ton of say in what we did. And he's like, I love the idea of the players walking into a sub-realm that is Minecraft. They look at their hands and they're like, oh God, everything's rectangles and squares. And it's got the actual Minecraft monsters in it. I'm actually thinking about using that in D&O. Where they're like, oh, you can go to this place and you can get stuff. Yeah, but there's some terrifying fucking monsters there.
Yeah.
That you don't know anything about. But I also like the idea of using some of that kind of biome builds of Minecraft to say, oh yeah, the giant mushroom, this tiny giant mushroom area. And those mushrooms, you don't know what they are, but maybe Terry does. And Terry maybe Denius does, and Denius would like some of the bark of some giant mushroom trees for whatever reason, and he'll trade you some leather for it. And that's an adventure, and maybe you go and much like Zomboid, like I'm doing currently on that server, because I don't really have anything, and I'm holing up in a encampment. I'm just foraging. Right now, I'm just walking around and foraging. That's all I'm doing. I'm killing zombies when I run into them. But I like the idea of some D&D just being like, okay, we're just gonna go out in the forest and see what we find.
Yeah.
If we find some animals, or maybe you run into a hive of talking bees who all talk with one voice. And they're like, hey, there's this asshole bear who wears hats. It will not leave us the fuck alone. Maybe you guys could do some talking to that bear for us. But I mean, something like that's a little more whimsical
Yeah.
without being silly, I think would be fun. Which I think will be the hard line to walk.
It is. Yeah, it will be. But I'm gonna drop. I got to get ready to go out and do some family stuff. So
no, and I've mishmash talked for
I'm digging it. I'm enjoying it. I just I'm looking at the clock.
Matt, where can people find you this next span
Tuesdays
of time?
on the Dave Wonder channel, Sundays here. And then other places as things arise. We'll probably get some stuff on the schedule here, Star Wars coming and all that stuff. So
I like your back corners done, Matt. Something good.
It is. I got to replace these shelves over here now, but that's I got to buy lumber, so I don't want to do that. But yeah. So anyway,
Matt, have a good Easter. Tell Danny, thank you.
I will. Yeah, enjoy your holiday, whatever you're doing, everybody. Chat, thank you as always. Bye.
Beard, where can people find you?
This is pretty much it.
Well,
Bad Games on Fridays.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are we gonna do Bad Games this week? Are you down to do Squadrons or Battlefront this week?
I would love to. Yeah, let me make sure that that's good to go. But I would love to start some more. So I think I'm gonna try to play some more.
I purchased this just so we could Squadrons.
Nice. I think I'm gonna try to play some more Squadrons on the PS4 with that Sony VR setup that the wifey got me, because it was breathtaking. I cried. It was so beautiful.
I kind of want to see if there is some mods for Battlefront 2 as well, to see if there's some stuff like I was watching a video about the different Mandalorian armors and Knights of the Old, or was it just Old Republic games? I can't remember. And there's just like hundreds of armors, and they look so cool. And it would be cool if someone made a mod where you're basically playing Mandalorians.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to know if you are squadroning. We can start kind of getting the word out on that.
Yeah.
Last week I did not play because I installed the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So I just watched. But I do now have Fallout installed and Fallout 76, and I will be playing with the wonderful Townsends soon, hopefully. But as always, I'm always the invitation for Bad Games is always available, because I picked up a kaiju fighting game. I can't remember the name of it though. Gigabash.
Oh, cool.
It's got Godzilla DLC. I also picked up, which I'm like, oh yeah. But that's another game I would like to play with some folks. I got a bunch of games that would be nice to play with folks.
Yeah.
And as soon as Dredge goes on sale, I will be buying Dredge, because holy balls, that game is
looks beautiful.
Great. But yeah, Beard, I really appreciate you jumping this is
on. Super fun. I'm super pumped to. I want to get this on the agenda too, because it's so much fun to do that.
I think that would be good for when we get our Star Wars thing together, and I think we can just do that. Get our Star Wars thing together on a prep school.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We can just schedule it, and maybe we figure out who wants to facilitate, who wants to scribe, all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. That would be awesome, Spike. I would love to do that. You should
I like I said, I am all about having kind of a group of folks doing things together and having fun together, and that's kind of the whole point of what we're doing. So I've got Down Mountain tomorrow night. It'll be a wild one. It's going to be a big one, because not everyone will be sticking with the group after tomorrow. So as far as NPCs, so just going to throw that out there.
Cool. Well, thanks, Spike, Shaggy, for hanging out. Robert, thanks for dropping by. Mitch, wherever you are, steer clear Cougars, brother.
Doing Mitch business.
All right, I'm gonna let these doggos out and go spread some holiday cheer.
All right, love you, buddy.
All right, love you too.
Bye, everybody.